So welcome to the April 4th, 2023 session of the Fine Art Missouri Education Network, sponsored by the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education. We're delighted that you're here with us today, and we're pleased to welcome our presenter today from the Missouri Arts Council is their program specialist for arts education, Jenny Ryan. Please tell us a little about your background and what you have to share with us today.
Thank you, Phyllis. Yes, I'm Jenny Ryan, and I have been the Arts Education Program Specialist at MAC since September 12th. So I'm pretty new. Before that, I taught English and theater for about 20 years on the high school level in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm also an actor. And so there you go. So this seems like the perfect fit for a second act job for me. So really my job is to get more art into every Missouri kid's life. And so that's my goal. And so today I really want you to think about what you dream about, either for your own students or for other people's children. I don't know. And think about how, if I had some money to give you, how that I could help you make that happen. Anyway. So yeah, that's me. And I've made a semi-formal presentation for you all, so bear with me. Phyllis, are you ready to share your screen with me?
I think you have that capability now. So
Oh, I can do it now. No, really?
yeah.
Can I?
Press the share button and see
Okay,
what
I'm going to
happens.
see which one I want to do. It's going to be this one. But don't look yet because it's not on the right slide. Okay.
We're with
There
you.
we go. Are you with me? Awesome. Okay. So as I said, my job is to get more art into Missouri kiddos' lives, so both in school and after school. I firmly believe in the power of the arts to develop strong character, humanity, depth, and innovation in all of our young people. And yes, even in our older people, that art is really important. So I hope that after today, you're more excited about possibilities for letting me give you some money. Okay. So Missouri Arts Council is a state arts agency, which means that we have your tax dollars in our hands. So please think about how you can spend your tax dollars through us. We're located in downtown St. Louis in the old post office building. Unfortunately, we're in the basement. Well, it's called the gallery, but you get the idea. It's a basement. And we're part of the Lieutenant Governor's office. He's in Jefferson City, but we operate under his umbrella. So we give grants. We fund arts organizations across all mediums, as I've listed there: theater, music, dance, festivals, museums, literature. We fund some university programming, folk arts in Missouri. It runs the gamut of anything you call art. And then also we fund arts education in schools and arts organizations, nonprofits. But here's the deal. Arts education support is a full third of MAC's strategic plan. And to me, as a newbie, I think, wow, it's pretty important to us. So I take that very seriously. Not only do we want to support arts specialists and classroom teachers in schools, but we also want to support after-school arts programming, as I said, in arts organizations. And we have a really well-developed relationship with many organizations across the state. So my goals are to increase arts exposure and also to support and increase in-depth arts learning opportunities, especially and including arts integration opportunities. So first of all, arts exposure to me and the way we help fund that. We have two grants. The first one is the Big Yellow School Bus Grant, and that offers buses to arts venues across the state. So right now, MAC will fund $300 for one school to take as many bus trips as that will get them. Usually it's one or two. There's no match for that. Most grants these days have some kind of match that you have to meet, but the Big Yellow School Bus, or BYSB, does not have a match, and it's about probably 45 minutes of teacher time to complete an application and then complete the final report after the field trip is done and submit receipts and things like that. I think it's a no-brainer and a great way to use some MAC funds, frankly, and get some art into your kids' lives. Secondly, we have school touring performances. So you can pick a performer or a performing group to come to your school. We will pay up to $1,000 at 60% of the total artist fee for that. So there is a match for that of 40%, but that's still really wonderful. And schools generally want to offer assemblies with guest artists and things like that through the year. And so we can support that very nicely, I think. And then for arts learning, the really important stuff, we have 2 grant programs for schools. The Artist in Residence grant allows for a visiting artist to come in and either support a classroom teacher or a fine arts specialist in their classroom to increase engagement and deepen learning across all curricula, not just in the arts. And then we also offer professional development grants for teachers to foster arts integration across the curriculum. So for teachers, teaching artists, arts specialists, classroom teachers, administrators, everybody. And we have a couple different opportunities ongoing, and you could design your own for sure. Okay, so then I have some examples of success stories that I just wanted to share with you. Pardon me, my allergies, we get to 85 degrees on April 4th in St. Louis, Missouri, and my allergies are really killing me right now. So the first one is Artist in Residence. So Elizabeth Barker at Lebanon High School is the art teacher, and she has had several large-sized grants for us, annual grants. And her whole goal is to show her students in Lebanon, Missouri, that the world is much larger than their town. And so she's designed this Sharing Culture Through Art program, where she brings in guest artists, multiple teaching artists, to work with her art students on big projects. So she's got 2 installations, a large format, I don't know what she calls it, panel, and then an actual mural, permanent mural in the hallway that's going to be completed in April. And so they spend all year talking about, she has had, this year she did field trips to Kansas City and St. Louis as part of that grant. They went to the art museums in St. Louis. I think they stopped at the City Museum, which, if you know that place, what an amazing opportunity for some high schoolers from out of town. Next year, her grant application includes a culminating globally strong culture fair for the entire student body, where they'll have a day of performances, presentations, and exhibits about the world. And I think it's just amazing. Next, this year, I had a call from the executive director at Neosho Arts Council, who was trying to help Neosho teachers get their, I think it's 2nd graders, forgive me, it was like the 3rd week of me working here, so I don't remember the details, but there's a program for 2nd graders at Spiva Center for the Arts. And so we arranged together to kind of not fast track, but simplify that application for 9 different schools in the district, so that they could all take their 2nd graders to do this program at Spiva. And so I thought that was a pretty clever way to use not only an arts council, but also me as the funder to get everybody going somewhere. And then thirdly, we have an ongoing Kansas, Missouri, and Kennedy Center Partners in Education professional development program that has a summer, you probably all know about this, symposium where they're teaching teachers to be arts integration specialists, essentially. And I'm not incredibly well versed on that program, but it's very successful. And they've got now master teachers who are ready to go to teach other teachers as like experts and master teachers. So that's pretty awesome. I did not do that justice. So, what questions do you have for me so far? Anything?
I have one, and I'd love a clarification if you don't
Sure.
mind, Jenny.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
is the Big Yellow School Bus grants are available for only MAC funded entities. Is that true? Or
Yes,
do I?
but Phyllis, that's really anybody that does art. I mean,
Okay,
the list is quite comprehensive.
extensive.
Yeah,
Great.
it's not, and you could try to stump me. I welcome that.
I am
Because then
not
I would have
in
to.
the business of that, but I didn't
Yeah.
want someone to be unpleasantly surprised if they plan to go to whatever it was and they were applying for a Big Yellow School Bus grant and found out they couldn't.
No, I mean,
So
generally, if they're taking their kids to, first of all, it's an arts venue, right? Arts venue, and it needs to be a nonprofit. So there you go.
arts venue, nonprofit, and what if it is combined with another thing that is not necessarily an arts venue, like the city museum? Is that considered?
Um, I don't know. We did not pay for the kids to go to the city museum. She just worked it into her field trip here, and so that wasn't on her list, on our
Okay.
list of her
All
grant.
right.
So
And it would
certainly,
have been through a different grant category anyway, because it was not a Big Yellow School Bus grant.
right. She did
Took
not, I
them to
don't think
that.
she used our funds to take them on that field trip. She's been raising money to do this. But we do fund, I do want to clarify that for our arts learning grants, we have two different tracks. One is what we call an express grant, and that is a smaller amount that could be used for, one project, one small project, a unit of learning, perhaps. And that's a maximum of $3,500 of matching funds. So if you had a $7,000 program, we could fund up to $3,500 of that. And those grants you can apply for those on a monthly basis. And you can have one of those and one of a different kind a year. So, for
And
example, I have a school that is interested in, they don't have a dance program and they really want to add that to their offerings. And they're trying to build a theater program as well, and find that they didn't have, they're doing their first musical this spring, I think, and they don't have a choreographer. And so I said, you should think about creating a residency position for that. And so they're looking at that for the fall. And so they'll take that small, in July, they'll probably apply for a grant that starts in September and ends in November or something like that, or it ends in December. I mean, they could use it through the whole year, but the smaller amounts tend to be, a shorter duration. And then we have our annual grant, which is funding of up to $30,000 of matching funds. So, for example, Elizabeth Barker at Lebanon High School has a large grant from us. So that's it. It's a year long, looking at it for the long haul, for sure. If you have a huge project that's maybe even school wide or something, or multiple grade levels. So that I did want to clarify that.
one of the most exciting things for me, and that I want to make sure that all listeners on the call know, is that Jenny is a tremendous resource that can help you if you're looking at that $7,000 project that you want to fund at 35. How can we find that 3,500 in matching? I don't have $3,500 in cash in my back pocket, but Jenny is extremely helpful in finding ways of coming up with those match. Did you want to talk about that more, Jenny?
I do. Thank you, Phyllis. You just totally opened the door for me. At schools, teacher and administrator time can be used for the match. So that is very, very helpful when you're thinking about schools that are so strapped anyway. that they don't have to dig through the, change purse to come up with the pennies to match our funds. Yeah, except for the school touring. So the artist in residence, professional development, all those things that you would want to bring into the school for arts learning can be matched with teacher and administrator time instead of cash. So
Thank you, Jenny.
anyway, I think that it's, again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible, and it's not easy. I understand that. Just the planning of a new program or project is so time consuming. And then to have to write it all into a grant application and in the way that we want to see it, again, very time consuming. So I am all about trying to make it as easy as possible. And if you have an idea, shoot me an email and let's see how we can make it as easy as possible, for sure. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Any other questions for Jenny at this point? All right, hearing none.
No questions. I
No.
do have a really nice, well, it's not about quality, kind of a one sheet about just a little promotional handout. If you teacher folks would like a handout, I can email that to Phyllis and she can share it. It also talks about how to get your funding, how to match your funding and things like that. So I can share that with you, Phyllis, after the meeting.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to pass it on.
For sure. So that's all I have.
Okay, Jenny. Well, I am going to, whoops, I'm not. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing. I'm going to remove your spotlight. And if that is all we have today, I have just a few pieces of housekeeping things. One is I'm going to put a link in the chat as soon as I grab a hold of it here. Let us hope that I shared it properly. I'm going to double check to make sure it's everyone with the link can look at it. We have lots of things going on at the Alliance, and rather than take a lot of time to enumerate them all, what I have done is put them into a document here that I'm going to put on the screen really quickly that just outlines some of the things that are happening in the Alliance. And I'm also going to place this in the chat for you to refer to later. And I won't be reading it to you all, but I would like to remind you that we have 3 total professional learning communities, and they are all very active and busy. We want to encourage you to become a part of the this network's session on May the 2nd, which is specifically for music educators. It features Katie Dwinall from Quaver Ed, who is going to talk about blending an educator's current practice with tomorrow's or today's technology. And then our main events continue. I see that I have the wrong date here. It is actually 4/24. That is our next session. And it is part 2 of Katie and Stephen Schisler's work in looking at the standards in lesson planning and unit design and arts integration. And finally, our IDEA network session is coming up here in April. Did I get the date? Yeah, April 13th. And it is a wonderful reprise of a presentation that was done by Diane McCullough, Blake Herton, and Suzanne Palmer, who are sharing African-American heritage contributions and Scottish, Irish, Celtic contributions to American fiddle music. And it's all around fiddling around. So we do invite you to be a part of those. You can access any of those on our website or by the links that are included here. And I just encourage you to be a part of that. And the last thing that I'll share in the link as soon as I grab a hold of it is an evaluation form. With all of our programming at the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, we are constantly looking for ways to improve and ways that we can better meet the needs of the folks who are coming, whether that's through topics, through feedback, through changes in scheduling, or whatever structural elements, we do appreciate that feedback. And I'm going to go hop and get that link, put it in the chat. And I want to open up the floor to anyone else who has anything they would like to share, or any questions that have popped up since Jenny finished that you're like, oh yeah, what about this plan, or what about that plan? I want to just invite you to use this time to share.
I have a question. So I'm newer to these meetings and everything, and so pardon any ignorance in my question or outsider view coming in. When it comes to these grants, I know a Tupperware reference. I'm at our store, so I had to excuse myself for part of it. Are there opportunities for, like we're talking about the choreographer for the musical? Are there opportunities for the school systems to potentially have a grant through bringing in a guest artist for, say, a masterclass or for the choir, and having these outside educators that might be people that I know from my time on either coast that could come in that aren't necessarily specific to Kansas and Missouri side of life, but
I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
you're fine,
You are
please.
absolutely on the right track. Yes. That would be a great, yeah.
What grant, is there a specific grant that is
That would be the
geared towards
artist,
those?
and if you want to do a master class, I think you would do an artist in residence grant.
Okay,
Yeah. For sure. And that's what a great example. Yes. It doesn't have to be you don't have to hire someone to be with you for a whole 6 weeks or semester or anything. If you wanted to bring in one or two different wonderful experts who aren't local to give your kids some really strong feedback, that would be awesome. Yeah.
because like from our side of life with the piano side of supporting music in the schools, we obviously work with, world-renowned pianists that
Mhm.
we've met all over, and sometimes we ask them to come for both our private clients, but maybe we know that they're going to be performing with the Kansas City Symphony, and then we partner with something. And so I'd love to be able to find a way of letting my contacts and colleagues in Raytown or Liberty or Archie, Missouri, all these educators and students deserve, like you were, I don't know
Mhm.
Lebanon area. I'm not familiar with the St. Louis side of things. I'm
That's not
assuming.
in St. Louis.
Okay, I'm
No,
fairly new.
no.
I'm fairly new to the area myself, so I'm just learning where these pockets are.
Yeah.
But everyone deserves these opportunities, and whether I am viewed as the top stellar student or the middle of the road, or I'm just new into it, they should get exposure. They should
Yeah.
get, I mean, that's my view with the music side, is like, just because I see X, Y, and Z students of the top teacher always in the competitions and things, doesn't mean the other students don't also deserve to have that type of feedback from a master class. And
Right.
how inspiring can that be for that generation, or that student that thinks, oh, Timmy in my class is always in it, why can't I? Oh, I'm never going to be there, I'm never going to be that. Where it's like, no, let's give them that too. So
Yep.
it's things like this, like knowing about grant options for educators. I'm trying to get better at understanding what's out there. So that's kind of where my questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. We had Dance St. Louis is a local dance company, and they do a great artist in residence program with several schools in the St. Louis area, but they bring in professional dance companies from New York, and they'll do a residency, and then they do public performances while they're here. They do master classes on the weekends while they're here. So they've created this really awesome program, and it's not just about finding the next lead dancer for Alvin Ailey. That's not the point. It's all sorts of kids who then can find meaning through their experience with dance. So anyway, I look forward to maybe working with you and certainly, like I said, Phyllis will have my little handout that makes things, whatever came out of my mouth today, it's very clear on this handout. So, yeah. Maggie, did you have a question for me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do. I, prior to the pandemic, Gallery 210 at UMSL had many, many visiting artists.
Mhm.
And what we did is they the artist would have an exhibit at Gallery 210, and then we would bus students in to visit the gallery and see their show and have a gallery talk with the artist, and then the artists would go out into the schools. So it was a total you know benefit for the artists and the students. And I mean, I constantly get asked, when are we going to have these visiting artists again at Gallery 210? I don't know when it's going to happen. Also, last night, I was at a wonderful performance at the Two Hill with the Black Violins. Have you heard of that group?
I saw an ad for them. Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, they've appeared on Jimmy Fallon.
Mhm.
They're very, very they were amazing. And I thought, oh, and if they were available to do professional development for music teachers, for classroom teachers, it would be phenomenal. But you do have schedules, you have timelines, you have review periods where I know that this is all very, very well organized and systemic, and you know will all this be available in what you're going to be sending out to us?
Sorry, I muted myself. In terms of,
The different programs that are available for
yeah,
teachers?
the handout I have is, like I said, it's pretty clear and succinct and has all the different options on it. Just on
Okay.
one page. And then the second page is about schools matching funds with administrator and teacher time.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we have, are you familiar with the Desley
Mhm.
Fine Arts Collaborative?
Yes.
16 16 school districts and many nonprofit organizations, and we meet once a month. And you should definitely try to be there, so that you could meet all of the arts coordinators and supervisors and spokespeople for the school districts.
Yeah.
And right.
When I first started and I spent my days, Googling arts education in Missouri. and so I found Desley on my own, and I looked at the website and read a little bit, and I reached out to whoever the executive
Mi-
director is.
Michael Smith.
Yes. And because I didn't know what, I just introduced myself and, said, hey, maybe there's some potential here for us to work together. So I should circle back around and see about getting
Sure.
to one of the meetings for sure. Thank you.
Fine.
Anything else for me?
May I ask if you could elaborate a little bit more about the matching grant criteria? For
So-
example, what you're using in the teacher and administrator time, is that calculated like on an hourly basis per stipend or a daily basis per rate?
So I think that it, from my understanding, is that a teacher who's writing a grant will go to maybe someone in the front office who can look at a basic, what's the district, like standard for how do we break it out into an hourly salary for teacher, for administrator, for if they have any assistant staff that is working with the grant program somehow, whether it's to sub while you're doing your planning or whatever. Anyone who's working with the program, I think, could qualify for that. And then it's broken down into an hourly rate, estimate how many hours. And I would give that a generous estimate. And then it may not cover the entire matching amount, but it will cut a big deal into it. So then if you can, so for example, I think on my little handout, I have an example of, Elizabeth Barker in Lebanon had like art club savings that she, so they had fees they'd been saving up for a couple of years. And so that was like $500. But then everything else was matching funds, was teacher time. So she matched, $20,000 of teacher time to get $20,000 in cash from us, essentially. And so I think it's really doable. And that might be I know that's the biggest sticking point is I'd love to do this, but it's so expensive and I can only get MAC to cover half of it. Where do I, never mind. So anything we can do to help out with that.
And Kathy, like many other arts professionals, Elizabeth Barker, I happen to know, is there before school working with kids, is there after school working with kids,
Yeah.
does the club, and as music educators, they do the rehearsals, they're there with the parent meetings, they're an hour ahead of the bus because they've got to get things ready for whatever else that's happening. And all of those hours are countable to be as part of the match.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I also wanted to put a name with a face as we're going through this conversation. I realized I believe you might be the one from the MAC Council. I've been sending emails this school year regarding the Fox School District and the big year.
That's you.
Yellow School
Yes.
Bus grant.
Yes.
So thank you for the communications this school year. So
Great.
we've been working behind the scenes to collaborate with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra to bring in educational concerts to our children. And we have an upcoming meeting on Friday with the operations team, and I'll update you after that. But I want to put a name with the face and say thank you for your partnership and the behind the scenes communications.
Oh yes, I had to put it on my calendar for next year so I'd remember to to get things organized. We're going to do a special busing grant. So while SLSO has been kicked out of Powell for their educational concerts in the Fox School District. So awesome. I am so excited about that. Yay.
Fingers
We'll
crossed.
figure out how it works. Yeah.
Yes, we'll know more on Friday, and then I'll reach out the following week with an update.
Great. Thank you. It's good to meet you for sure.
And I just want to underscore
Likewise,
what
thank you.
Jonathan was saying. Thank you, Kathy. What Jonathan was saying about bringing in clinicians to work with that. I mean, that's something that if schools engage in it, it's because they know somebody who is close enough that'll do them a favor, and they'll, hit their booster club up for the $150 it'll take to get them a hotel room or whatever it would happen to be. And utilizing that artist in residency grant opportunity to bring in clinicians, you could write the grant to have 2 or 3 clinicians or 4 clinicians come at different times through the year. Jonathan, that's not something, it should have been on my radar. I'm dealing with that all the time in other avenues, but just not through the Missouri Arts Council. So what a great suggestion that was too.
With that, can I ask a follow-up question to that? Does the Missouri Alliance of Arts Education help? I know. See, Phyllis, I'm listening, I'm learning. Does the organization, or Jenny, you can maybe speak to this too. I don't know the first thing about grant writing. So how does a educator find the resource to help them with the grant writing process for when they do need maybe a larger amount, or they're trying to bring in a guest clinician, better word choice than, so thank you, Phyllis. That's maybe from California, New York, Texas, not overly convenient for travel. So to get maybe travel expenses covered for as well. What resources do the educators have with that regard?
I unmuted it, didn't unmute. Definitely me. I always peek at grant applications that are in process, and then I'll offer feedback, solicited or unsolicited. And I do have some resources I've collected in terms of what kinds of documentation, because one big piece of our application for arts education is an arts learning section. And, not just, what are they going to learn? How are you going to do it? But let's pull together official standards language somehow. And so that's what but actually I find, I don't know, the grant application is pretty clear. It just takes a little bit of time to go, okay, I have to craft a narrative about why my project and what my project is and why it's important to me, and then break it up into these little boxes and these little sections. Maybe get some numbers together and things like that. You have to create a budget. But it's pretty, I think it's pretty clear. Phyllis, is your experience been
I do, I would
easy?
echo Jenny.
I know
that
it's a different, you have a different
Yeah.
track, but
But the process is pretty clearly outlined.
yeah.
And it does kind of walk you through step by step
Mhm.
so that you can experience success. That being said, please count on the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education as another avenue for support, because people have said, I've got this idea, what do you think? Or can you help me put a budget together? And I work with people all the time that just have an idea, but they don't quite have it as refined as they would like it to be, and just prep. So for sure, Jenny, and for sure me too.
Because that's part of what I sometimes run into when I'm having conversations with, especially I would say elementary and new teachers in middle school and high school. They don't know how to find the resource, or how to write this, or how to find the budget, or how to map it out. So therefore they do get the best chance of getting their grant picked. And I don't necessarily have the answer, but I'd love to be able to at least find them a solution, to say, here's a person that will help you through this entire process and give you honest feedback, because we're all in this to truly help make sure that the art programs are booming and continuing. And I mean, something that we're trying to do is, obviously we sell pianos. There's shocking, I know we sell them, but but at the same time, our industry, the piano industry as a whole, is suffering, in terms of resources, technicians, touch-up, repair, movers. Those are all different directions within this industry, in the art community as well, because that's also an art form, is how I look at it, that we try to bring that, I don't want to say expertise necessarily, but bring that insight into. I might be studying dance, and I'm not going to necessarily become a next person to be in the ballet here or there or wherever, but that passion and love is going to maybe make me then open up a dance studio. So it can take all these different paths. And that's where I look at from our vantage point. Yes, I'm Steinway Pianos, but what does that also mean? That means the service providers, the maintenance providers, these other avenues. And so just finding different ways to even introduce, I think, students to different careers within each of the subcategories of art. So that's what I find so interesting about clinicians and master classes. It doesn't always have to be specifically on a chamber music or a dance performance, but maybe the business of being in the music community. I think that's sometimes, pardon me, but lacking in that education. So just, again, I'm new to the group, don't be mad.
Well, I think it's a brilliant observation, Jonathan, and it's one of the, Mac's in the business of trying to give away money. And the main reason that they do that is to make Missouri healthier and stronger economically, and add to the positive quality of life for all of the Missourians who live here. And we are always looking for ways to increase revenues for our state and increase the health and well-being of our businesses within the state and arts practitioners as well. I'm recalling Roger Kelly, who is the former Department of Elementary and Secondary Education person, telling a story of taking a group of students to the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art and uncovering all of the careers, from curators to the people who unpack the boxes, to the people who move pieces of art from one storage facility to another, to the programmers who are determining which exhibitions are going to be coming January through May and which ones are going, there are so many jobs that are invisible. That, and you have drawn our attention to quite a few of them in the music realm, and in particularly in the piano music realm. And it's something that we're always trying to do a better job of workforce readiness, preparation for a lot of different kinds of jobs. The students of today do not know those jobs exist because they are invisible, and they're invisible on purpose because they
If we do our job really well, our jobs look really easy.
Yes.
We forget that, again, my world is piano, but I grew up in theater, I grew up in band, I grew up in art classes. I grew up in all of it, but my world day to day is piano, obviously, from saying Steinway even. But like we have had, personally, I've had a few local piano teachers bring their studios, and as they called it the field trip day, to our store, where we gave an entire presentation on piano care and maintenance. And the light switch that goes off in these students' minds when they get a better grasp of how the tool they use day after day works and why I do need to service it is mind-blowing. We try to offer that to so many of these local teachers, but not everyone sees added value in that, where I look at it from the side of Mr. and Mrs. Smith bring in little Timmy for their yearly fall or spring recital, and parents will often say, oh, he's not going to be a concert pianist. She's not going to be a concert pianist, all these things. No one said they have to, but their love for the art might lead them to be the next great piano tuner that travels the world. And we're all desperate for these people. So that's where I try my hardest to promote and bring awareness to those subcategories. So it's nice to know that that is something that could grow further with these partnerships.
Yeah, you're not alone. There's a whole wealth of things. And making that which is currently invisible more visible is a step in the right direction, I think. Well, my friends, it is 5:22. I want to, I don't want to shut down anyone's opportunity to speak, but I will say we are winding down to the end of our hour. And I want to say a special thank you to Jenny and for Rick being here to support her, both from the Missouri Arts Council. You've got me thinking in some new and exciting directions. And I hope the people who view this recording and the people who are here today also have some takeaways that will make them more likely to look toward the Missouri Arts Council in helping meet their students' needs. Well, thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoy this extra 7 minutes on your day. Jenny, thanks again for preparing your presentation and for being there to support so many of us as we're working through this.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.